Hi, I'm Benjamin Faust. Let's talk about sticky wages. Sticky wages can affect unemployment, especially what we call cyclical unemployment during the business cycle. Business cycle, when there's a recession, means there's a pull back in the production of the economy. The national income is going down, and we represent that here. Right here we have the price W, PW, that's the wages, the price of labor. Over here is the quantity of labor. So right here we have our supply curve and we have our demand curve here. Before the recession, we're at demand DL, demand for labor right here. Let's say a recession happens, and it's not a COVID style recession, it's one where demand has fallen, where we have demand shifting to the left. So demand shifts to the left. Here we have the demand after the recession. So in a normal market, what would happen is here, before the recession, we're at the market equilibrium. So we have the wages at the market equilibrium here, and we have the quantity of labor purchased at the market equilibrium, and they meet here. After the recession, if it were a normal market, it would be here. Here's the new market equilibrium because demand has shifted to the left. So it would be quantity here purchased, and over here we would have a new lower wage. What this would entail is that people, certainly there would be loss of jobs as the quantity of labor goes down, but what this would mean is that workers are taking pay cuts. Now, in my formative years, my dad had a job, and unfortunately, he had to take a pay cut. And at the time, I didn't think anything unusual about it. However, that is very unusual. Most employers do not cut wages. What do you think they do if they need to cut their labor cost? If you said fire some people, you're absolutely right. Now, why do they do that? There's a number of reasons. For one, there's kind of an adverse selection thing. If you cut everybody's wages, maybe your good workers leave, and you don't want that. You want to get rid of the people you don't really want working there, so you're going to fire them instead. There's other theories too, such as there's one theory I kind of think has some merit, that employment is kind of an implicit contract for all workers, not just workers in like a trade union, so that when the times are bad, the employer will at least keep the nominal wage the same. And so there's a variety of social factors that do not typically have them cutting pay. But when employers act on this and they fire people rather than just, lowering everybody's wages, how does it affect the market? Well, instead of going down here, from here to here, they're going to stay at this wage level. They're going to stay at this wage level, and yet demand has shifted. So what's going to happen is they're going to actually purchase here at QR. I put R for recession. The quantity at the recession, they're going to purchase here, but they're going to pay wages as if they were still here. So it causes a gap, and this gap is what we would call a surplus. Now, a surplus sounds good. Oh, I've got a surplus of money. I've got a surplus of candy. That sounds great. But when we're talking surplus in the labor market, we're talking surplus workers, which translates into unemployment. So during a recession, even if we didn't have a sticky wage problem, we would have lost some jobs, but wages would have come down. But wages typically don't come down, so what happens is we lose even more jobs. So from here to here was going to happen anyway, but the job loss from here to here, the full surplus, this second half of the surplus here, this from here to here are additional job losses due to the fact that there are sticky wages. Now, there have been attempts by companies to try to mitigate this sticky wage problem. There's a tech company I read about, and they needed to cut their payroll back, and rather than fire people, what they did is they gave mandatory unpaid furlough of 1 month per employee, and then they allowed the employees to trade. So if you could and wanted to, you could take 2 months, take somebody else's month, and they could have their month back. So they worked it out that way. They didn't have to fire people, but that's not really built into our psyche as an economy yet. And so when there's a recession, it causes even more pain because of the sticky wages. If wages would fall, there would be less pain from unemployment. But unfortunately, since we have the sticky wage problem, it causes additional pain due to the fact that we can't lower wages.